Welcome to the first video in our Security Center Operator Training video series. In this video, we'll take a look at features of the security desk that are common to all security modules. In other videos in this series, we'll take a look at specific features for video, access control, and license plate recognition. But before we take a look at specific features, let's take a look at what the Security Center system is and what it can do. The Security Center software is used to manage the hardware you have on site and send the information from it to different types of software clients. This can be anything from an access request sent to the video wall in your operations center to an alarm shown on your mobile phone app or a video clip sent to your personal workstation. Security Center helps your security team in many ways. It unifies all the security operations with a single interface to get the right information at the right time. The platform itself is built to keep the information as secure as possible, so the only people who can see the data are the ones you want to. The client applications keep configuration, monitoring, and investigation as simple and easy as possible, with many customizable features within the tasks. An open architecture approach means you're not locked into one specific brand of hardware and can take advantage of the latest advances in the security industry. We're also helping to bring together all the information you need for a more global view, regardless of the physical location of the sites or devices. The modular aspect of the software means you can add a component or feature as needed and don't have to see things you aren't going to use. Only want to view video but don't need to see anything related to access control? That can be easily configured. Once the software has been installed on your workstation, there are two client applications you will see. The config tool is used primarily by system administrators for configuring the various parts of the system and the hardware that is connected to it. The security desk application is the one we're going to be looking at in this video series and is used for monitoring and investigating any security threats. When we are looking at the different things we can do within the security desk application, there are a few terms we're going to be using a lot. When we talk about users, we mean the people who are actually logged into the security desk and monitoring the system for security threats. The things we'll be using for monitoring and investigation are called entities, and these are our assets on site like the cameras, doors, LPR units, access credentials, or intercom units. An area is a specific type of entity that is used to group other entities according to location, entity type, or some other common information. Maps can be associated with areas. When we mention an event, we don't just mean something happening on site, we are specifically referring to a message that is being sent to Security Center from an entity or other part of the system. As we cover other parts of the system, we'll identify the various components of it, but these are just some general terms we'll be using throughout all the videos in this series. The first thing you'll have to do after loading the Security Desk application is log on to your system. The main brain that handles all the information and keeps all the other parts running is called the directory. In the directory field of the logon box, put the IP address or name of the server that you'll be connecting to. Click on the username field, and once the application can identify the directory, you'll see the status below the directory change from not responding to trusted directory. If it does not change to trusted directory, it could be a typo in the IP address or name, or your machine may not be able to see the directory server on the network. From here, there are 4 possible ways to log on, but only one will apply to you depending on how your system was configured. The most common way is to enter a username and password in the fields below the directory. If your Security Center system is connected with your Active Directory system, you can put a check in the Use Windows Credentials box to log in using the same information you use to log into Windows on your workstation. Some systems have an added layer of security where any user logging in also requires authorization from a supervisor. If you see an additional supervisor login below the main username and password, this option is active on your system. Finally, we can use other systems to handle the authentication for us, in which case you may see a second logon screen pop up after putting in your username. Once you click the Log On button, the system will try to verify your credentials, and if it is successful, you will be presented with the home screen. From the home page, you can click on the Log Off button to sign out of the security desk once you're finished. Let's take a look at the home page and how we can open tasks from here. On the left side of the home page, you'll have your list of sections that you can view. By default, the security desk will open in the Tasks section with all tasks showing. You can also select private tasks, which are tasks saved by you and only you can see, or public tasks, which are tasks that are shared with other users on the system. We'll look at saving custom tasks a little bit later. There are some features that open up in their own windows, and we can access some of those in the Tools section. The Options section brings up a screen that allows you to customize how the security desk behaves and some of the default options for different features or actions. If you need to check the version of the software, open the About section. On the top of the security desk is where we can see any task currently open. The first tab will always be our Security Desk tab and will bring us back to this home page. Once we start opening other tasks, you'll see them lined up on top where you can click on the tabs to easily switch tasks. On the top right of the application is the notification tray. We can get some general information from here, like the current date and time and resource usage on your machine, but we can also perform actions from some of the icons in the notification tray. For instance, we can mute or adjust the volume of the sounds being played from the application, run any hot actions from here, which are quick ways to execute functions in the security desk, or set a threat level, which are used to notify all users of a problem in one area or on the whole system. Let's take a closer look at our tasks. We can see that some tasks have a colored highlight on the bottom of the task icon. Hovering on that icon will change the icon background to that color. These colors indicate what part of Security Center that task belongs to. A blue task is common to all areas of the application, like the monitoring task, the alarm report task, or the system status task. Anything with a green highlight is for video monitoring and investigation, red is for access control tasks, and orange is for license plate recognition. When we're looking at all the tasks, they're also broken up by category. Tasks can be used for operation purposes, investigation, or maintenance. If you find you're using a specific subset of tasks more often than others, you can add those to your own favorites list. Right-click on the task icon and click on Add to Favorites. Any favorited tasks will show a star on the icon. Now if you look on the bottom, you'll see that you can quickly switch between browsing for all tasks and viewing your favorites and recently used items. In case you aren't using that task very much anymore, you can remove it from the favorites list in the same way that you favorited it. Right-click on the icon and choose Remove from Favorites. If you know the name of the task you want to run, you can also use the search below the Security Desk tab on the top left to find it. Some of the common tasks you'll likely be using frequently in the Security Desk are the monitoring task, alarm monitoring task, dashboards, and the alarm report task. Hello there, and welcome to our Synergist Access Control module of the Security Center Operator Training video series. In this video, we're going to exclusively look at how we can handle access control requests and reports in the Security Desk. If you need a more general overview of the Security Desk, please take a look at our module on the core features of the Security Desk application. We're going to start out by taking a look at how the Security Center system manages access control and the various parts of the system. When we talk about access control, we're not talking about the users of Security Center who can log into the Security Desk. We're referring specifically to who can use doors and other access points to enter the environment or facility. We're still using the main brain to control everything, which is the directory. The part that is the main component of Synergist, the access control module, is the Access Manager. This can be on its own machine, or it's sometimes installed on the same machine as the directory. Then we have the workstations and client applications that users connect with. The part that allows us to talk to all the hardware on site are the controllers, which report to the Access Manager. The controllers talk to I/O modules, or panels, which handle all the communication with the various pieces of hardware attached to a door, like the reader, door strike, door contact, and REX unit. REX stands for Request to Exit and is a way to allow someone through a door without setting off alarms in the system. What we normally see is a person, who we refer to as a card holder, will present a credential to a reader associated with a door. There are lots of different types of credentials, but the most common is an access card. We can also use biometric information like a fingerprint or retina scan. The reader sends the credential information to the controller, which is programmed with a set of rules for who can pass through the door and when. If the card holder is allowed to pass through, the controller tells the I/O module to open the door strike. There are different kinds of events we can see generated from the access control system. For example, if someone does not present a card to the reader or their access is denied and they push the door open anyways, we'll get a door forced open event. The door contact is the way we can tell the door has been opened, and we have other hardware to tell us if somebody actually passed through or not. If we want to make any changes to the rules for going through a door, we tell the access manager, which in turn sends the information to the controller. One of the most important tasks you'll be spending a lot of time in is the monitoring task. Let's open up this task and take a look at the different parts of it and what we can do. There are 4 parts in the monitoring task: the report pane on top, the area view on the left, the tile canvas in the middle, and the controls on the right. You may not see the report pane by default, but you can grab the handle on top, represented by 4 dots, and pull it down to show it. The area view and controls can be hidden if needed by using the hide buttons on the bottom. The tiles are used to view cameras, doors, maps, areas, or anything else you can find in the area view. Double-click on an entity in the area view to add it to a tile, or left-click and drag the entity into a tile. Within the area view, you will see all your physical entities in the system. These will be organized into a hierarchy or tree according to their logical relationship within the areas. Any entities that have been assigned to an area, such as cameras or doors, are considered children of this area. A parent area can also have sub-areas associated with it as well. Click on the triangle next to an area to display its children. An area can be assigned a map that can be displayed by viewing the area in a tile. Normally, areas that have map associations are given a different icon. In our example here, our HQ area has 3 sub-areas, and those have maps associated with them, indicated by the different icon. We also have 2 cameras as child entities and 1 door. The door may also have a child if it has a camera associated with it. If an area does not have an associated map, viewing the area in the tile will display all the entities within that area. The tile will cycle through displaying the different entities, and this can be paused or unpacked if needed. The controls on the right show widgets relevant to the entity you have in the currently selected tile. Widgets are simply a collection of controls, and you can have multiple widgets showing. For example, if we have a PTZ or Pan Tilt Zoom camera selected, you'll see the camera widget, the PTZ widget, and the tile widget. You'll always see the tile widget since it has controls for the tile itself, like maximizing the tile or going back to the previous entity you had in that tile. You can hover over the buttons to see what they do. Many of the tile controls also have shortcuts. For example, you can double-click on a tile to maximize it and hit the backspace key to clear the contents of a tile. Right-clicking on a tile or left-clicking on the tile number will bring up a menu where you can see a lot of these widget commands as well. To keep track of who is going through our doors in the security desk, we use the monitoring task. If we want to see door access requests, we need to make sure we have the doors added to the list of monitored entities. Just drag a door down to the monitoring button or open the monitoring section and click on the Add button to add a door. Now when a cardholder presents their credential at that door, we'll see that request and the result of it on top in the report pane. When we first open the monitoring task, we might need to pull down on the 4 dots on top to see this section. If the event happening at the door has been configured to show a tile in the security desk options, the door will also show up in a tile with the door name shown, the event message, the cardholder picture and name, and video from any camera associated with that door. If you want to see events in tiles, make sure some of your tiles have event monitoring active and have a blue tab in the tile number. Selecting the tile will update the widgets in the controls pane on the right. By default, we'll have the tile widget, but we will also have the door widget, and if video from a camera is showing, we'll have the camera widget as well. Looking at the door widget, we can see the state of the door and the lock. Basically, is the physical door open or closed, and is the door unlocked or locked? In the door widget, we have functions to unlock the door manually, override the unlock schedule that is currently active for that door, forgive an anti-passback violation, and shunt the reader. Overriding the unlock schedule will ask us if this is for maintenance purposes or temporary, and if it's temporary, whether we want to lock or unlock the door, and for how long. This can be a relative time, like for the next 5 minutes, or we can schedule hard start and stop dates and times. An anti-passback violation is where the system thinks the cardholder is somewhere where they shouldn't have access to this door or access point. For example, if someone enters a room but passes their card back to someone else before entering, we will get a violation on the second person because the system thinks that cardholder already passed through that door and are in the room and shouldn't be outside of it trying to get in again. This can happen accidentally when someone leaves an area with another cardholder without presenting their card to the outgoing reader. Forgiving the violation allows the card to be used again to get in or out of the area. Shunting is a fancy way of saying we have disabled the reader and will ignore anything sent from it. We can also double-click on a door or drag a door into a tile in case we want to perform any of these actions on it. If we want to perform some actions on all the doors in the area, we can drag the area into a tile, and from the area widget, click on the doors icon. From the pop-up menu, we can choose to unlock all the area perimeter doors, override the unlock schedules on all the doors, or cancel the override that was set. Additionally, if we have multiple doors in our tiles and want to unlock all of them at once, we can hold the Control and Shift keys and click on the Unlock button in the door widget. There are a few ways we can change what we're showing in the monitoring task. The first is by changing the tile layout in the middle of the screen. By default, it's configured to show 4 tiles in a 2x2 layout. If we wanted a different number of tiles or display configuration, we can click on the Change Tile Pattern button on the bottom of the screen. This will bring up a pop-up menu of your favorite tile patterns. Click on the More button to see the full list of tile patterns available. From this window, we can choose one of the pre-existing patterns or edit the patterns to create our own. Going into the pattern editor also allows us to choose an existing pattern and select it as a favorite, so it will come up in the first pop-up menu. If we have a multi-monitor setup, we can hit F11 to go into full screen mode. This will use all the screens we have connected to our workstation, and we can select independent tasks for each one. In case we have monitors that we do not want the security desk to use, we can go back to the home page, click on Options, and from the General tab, we can uncheck one or more monitors from here. Don't forget to hit the Save button when finished. Plan Manager is the module installed with Security Center that handles map creation and management. Maps are associated with an area and can be viewed from a tile in the monitoring task or the Maps task from the home page. Some other parts of Security Center can use our maps as well, like Mission Control or dashboards. These maps are configured by the system administrators and populated with entities from the system, like doors, cameras, zones, and pretty much anything else that can be accessed from our area view. These entities aren't just icons, they will also tell us the state of the entity and any events being reported by it. For example, if a camera is red, we know it's offline. If there's a red dot on it, it is recording. We can also see the direction the camera is pointed and rotated if it is a PTZ camera. Clicking on an entity on a map brings up a pop-up window where we can interact with it, normally by right-clicking inside the window. These pop-up windows are pinned to the map by default, but we can resize the window using the edges and move it by left-clicking on the arrows icon and dragging it into a new position. Once we have it in position, we can click on the pin to stick it to that part of the screen, regardless of where we move the map. Click on the X to close the window when it's not needed anymore. We can also have links to other entities or other maps on our map to make navigation easier. Left-click on the background to slide the map around, and the mouse wheel or plus and minus buttons on the screen can be used to zoom in and out. Below the zoom controls is a home button to reset the position and zoom of the map, a smart click option to rotate nearby cameras to view a location, and a menu to send a group of entities to monitoring task tiles or zoom into a specific area of the map. These last three options will allow us to drag a box on the map to choose the area to view, the entities to select, or the part of the map to fit into the tile. We may also see a button to choose a new area to view, or this can be done from a drop-down menu depending on the task we're viewing the map in. If we right-click on the map, we can choose which layers or parts of the map to see. For example, if I'm monitoring video and don't need to know anything about the access control entities on the map, I can go into my layers and deselect the doors. One of the tasks we might have to do is manage our card holders from the security desk. This includes creating new card holders, modifying the access rights of existing ones, and giving people temporary access to certain areas, doors, or elevators. We can do this through the cardholder management task from the operations section of the home page. When we open the task, we'll see any cardholders that are currently in the system. There are two viewing modes, List or Tile. In List mode, we can see some details about the cardholder. In Tile mode, we'll see a larger image of the cardholder and be able to see more of them on the screen. We can switch between these modes using the two buttons on the top right. Use the Zoom in Tile mode to change the size of the cardholder images. To create a new cardholder, click on the New button on the bottom of the screen. From the cardholder creation window, type in the cardholder's first and last name. These are mandatory fields. We can also optionally click on the image to add a profile picture for this person as well. There are different sources we can use for the picture, like a file, or add it from the clipboard. Click on the picture once it has been selected to go into Edit mode. From Edit mode, we can rotate the image or flip it, crop the image, set one color to be transparent, put a mask on the image, and adjust the brightness and contrast. If we make any changes, we can click Save to keep them, Save As to create a new file, or click the Reset button to revert the image back to the last saved state. The status for the cardholder will be active, but if we don't want it to be used yet, we can deactivate them from here. Below that, we can also set an expiration date for the cardholder. This is good for contract workers who will be returning in the future, interns, or other people who are not considered visitors but are not there all the time. Beside that, we can choose a cardholder group to put the cardholders in and enter the person's email address and phone number. In Security Center, we separate the person from the card they carry. This way we can deactivate a card without deactivating the person and don't need to fill in new details on the person if a replacement card is needed. Cards, biometric scanner information, key fobs, pins, and other identification devices are all considered types of credentials. We can click on the Add a Credential button to associate a card or other device to this cardholder. We will have to choose what type of credential we are adding and enter the relevant information or scan the device to identify it. If we choose an access card, we can set the badge template to use when the card is printed. Clicking on the Advanced section to expand it, we can set some custom options for a cardholder from here. For example, if the cardholder has a mobility issue and needs more time to get through a door, we can turn on the Extended Grant Time. If visitors need an escort through the building, we can designate this cardholder as someone who can be an escort. We can also make sure this cardholder is not held up by anti-passback rules, like a security guard may need in case they are pursuing someone. Next to the name, we have two tabs. The one we're in by default is the identity, but we can also add this cardholder to access rules, which tell the system who is allowed through an access point and when. Going into the access rules section, we can see which ones have been applied and add or delete rules from here. If we add a rule, we also have the ability to set up a temporary access rule for this person. Creating a temporary rule will require us to select the access point affected, like doors or elevators, the starting and ending time and date for the temporary rule, and the schedule to say when the person can pass through the selected access points. Note that when we are selecting access rules, they can be used to allow or block access. An access rule icon with the Do Not Enter sign tells us this is a rule to restrict access. Selecting a rule in the list will show the schedule for that rule. Green blocks allow access, red deny it. If we have a cardholder in the system already and we want to make changes to their profile, we can just double-click on their entry in the list, or select it and click on the Modify button on the bottom. The same window we were just looking at comes up with all the same settings and sections. We can also generate some reports from here and use the arrows on the sides of the window to go forward and backward through the list of cardholders quickly. Usually when we need to edit a cardholder, we're looking for someone specific. We can expand the advanced search options on the side to filter the list based on the cardholder information. For example, we might want to limit the list to see anyone with an expiration date within the next week, or to see any cardholders who have not had a credential assigned to them. Clicking on a column header in the list mode will sort the list on that column. Click it again to reverse the sorting direction, descending or ascending. On the top of the list of cardholders, we can also search for text in the cardholder's name, or use a credential to look up who it has been associated with. The Security Center system handles cardholders and credentials separately, linking people to the cards and access devices they carry and not considering them one entity. We can have multiple credentials assigned to one cardholder. For example, a door in a building I go to may need both a card to be presented and a PIN to be typed in on the keypad. So I would have these two independent credentials assigned to me. If we need to create credentials for a cardholder, we can do it from the cardholder management or visitor management tasks as we saw, but we can also do it from the credential management task. We can create, delete, or modify credentials from here, as well as change credential assignment or print cards. When we create a new credential, we need to choose what kind of credential we are creating. If we want to create a card, we can choose automatic or manual entry. Automatic entry is used if we want to read a card to get the details from it, so the first thing we have to do is choose the reader to use to scan the card. This can either be a USB reader or a door that you choose as the access point. Present the card to this device to read the card format, facility code, and card number from it. If we choose manual entry, we'll need to select the type of card and enter the facility code and card number. These are printed on the card, and there's usually a range printed on the card box. This will bring us to the entity creation screen, where we need to give the credential a unique name. Below that is where we can assign the credential from here if we have the cardholder in the system. In the status, we can set the card to active or inactive in case it won't be used just yet, and we can give the credential an expiration date. Click on the picture of the card to set a badge template, which will be used when the card is printed. Once we have saved the credential, we will see it in the list. We can also use the Create button to add PIN credentials and license plates. We just need to enter the PIN or plate, and we'll be at the same entity creation screen as above. Set the name, assignment, status, and expiration like we did before, but we won't need to pick a badge template since that doesn't apply to these types. Save the new credential once you're finished. To edit an existing credential, we can select it and click on the Modify button on the bottom, or simply double-click on it. Note that in the status, we also have Lost and Stolen as choices. If a credential is marked as stolen and somebody tries to use it on a door, we'll see that in the event that comes up in the security desk. In the Belongs To field, we can also hover over the cardholder it is currently assigned to and click the X to remove them. We can assign the credential to a new person after that. In case a cardholder has lost their card or it has been stolen, we can assign them a temporary card. We'll need to have some cards set aside to use as temporary cards. To give someone a temporary card, we'll need to bring them up in the cardholder management task, and then in their list of credentials, click on Assign Temporary Card in the missing credential. We'll get a pop-up menu asking us to select a reader, either a USB device or from an access point, and once we present the card, it will show up in the temporary card section. We can set an expiration date for the credential from here as well, either a set number of days from now or a specific date and time. Click on Assign Temporary Card to save the change. With the security desk, we can manage regular cardholders, but we can also manage visitors to the facility as well. Visitors can be created ahead of time, or this can be done when they are ready to check in. The first thing we'll need to do is open the Visitor Management task from the Operations section of the home page. Click on the New button on the bottom of the page to create a new visitor. Most of the fields are the same as what we saw for the regular cardholders, but let's take a look at some of the differences. First of all, by default, a visitor is created with an inactive status. Use the activation and expiration dates to say when this visitor cardholder will be usable. Instead of being able to say that a cardholder can escort visitors, from the visitor creation screen we can choose if an escort is required and who will be escorting this visitor. This can be a cardholder group instead of a specific person for more flexibility. The visitor creation screen does not have any modification section for the access rules as well. Using the check-in button on the bottom, we can check the visitor in from this screen right away as well. Once we have checked someone in from the creation screen or selected them and clicked the check-in button on the bottom, their credentials will be active and usable. To check someone out, we can select them from this screen and click the checkout button on the bottom as well. Once someone is checked out, they will disappear from this screen. In case the visitor returns at a later date, we don't need to recreate everything. To check back in a returning visitor, we can click on the New button and type in their name. We can use either the first name, last name, or both, and we'll immediately look for a match. We'll see a green button pop up next to the name letting us know that there are some matching search results, and we can pull up a previous visitor from there. The previous credentials will have been cleared, so we'll have to set that up again for them. If we need to find a specific set of visitors, we can use the advanced search filters on the left, which are similar to what we saw in the cardholder management task. For example, we can filter the list based on the visitor creation date, the status of the visitor, or if they have had a credential assigned to them or not. Click on the search button on the bottom once you have the filter set to update the list on the right. Let's go back to our home page and take a look at the investigation section. This is where we have all the reports we can run from the security desk to find more information related to video, access control, and other parts of the system. We'll look at the specific reports related to each section later on, but for now let's open the alarm report just to see what kind of common features we have in all the reporting tasks. The right side of the screen probably looks pretty familiar since it has a pretty similar look to the monitoring task. On top we have the report results, on the side we have our control panel where we can use widgets, and in the middle we have our tiles to view individual results. On the left side is where we select the filters we want to apply. The particular list of filters will change depending on the type of report we're looking at. For example, in this report we're looking at alarms, so we can select the alarms we want to investigate in the first filter. Most will also have things like a time range filter and a source entity filter. Any filter we do not want to use should be set to off, or you may get an error since nothing has been selected. Just click on the filter header to turn a filter on or off. Once the filters have been set, click on the Generate Report button on the bottom to update the results list. The key difference between a monitoring task and an investigation task is that the results in an investigation task are only updated when we click on the Generate Report button. Once we have our list of results, we can use the buttons on top to export or print the results, or add these types of results to a dashboard, which we'll talk about in a minute. Some reports also have a way of displaying the results in a graphical format using charts. If we see the tiles and charts icon on the top right, we have the option to see these results in different display formats and export the graph as a JPEG or PNG file. In case we need more room to see the results list, we can use the buttons on the bottom to hide the side panes. Going back to the home page, there are also some reports in the maintenance section, mostly for the health and configuration of the system and its entities. For example, if we open the hardware inventory report, we can see our filters for units, the source group, and some advanced search filters. Under the Units filter, we can choose what we want to display in the list based on the entity type, or we can search for a unit by name in the box below. The filter can be used to reduce the list as well. We can put a check mark next to any hardware unit we want to see information on, or use the Check All button below the list. If we want to reduce the list based on a specific type of hardware, like video or access control units, we can also use the Source Group filter. If we select all entities in the units filter, but only select access control in the Source Group filter, we will not see any video units that were selected. In case we want to get more granular with our results, we can use the Advanced Search filter to add things like controllers, expanders, lock sets, and readers to the list. This will not filter out anything from the list, but rather add them to the results instead. Once we click on the Generate Report button, the right side will show us all the relevant hardware information for the units that match our filter settings, such as the firmware, IP address, password strength, and state. Like the alarm report we looked at, we can also export and print these results, or view a chart of specific parts of the report, such as the unit type, state, or manufacturer. If we want to see what a cardholder or visitor has been up to, we can check on their events using the Cardholder Activities task and the Visitor Activities task. These are both in the Investigation section of the home page. We can use the filters on the left to narrow down our list of results, such as the Events filter, the Door, Area, or Elevator selection filter, and the Cardholder or Visitor. In the Cardholder Activities task, we can also narrow down the list by the specific access point, either the in or out side. Don't forget to turn off any filters we're not using, or they will be in an error state. Click on Generate Report on the bottom to populate the results section. We can click and drag an event down to one of the tiles in the layout to see more details about the event, or view cameras and other entities attached to it. Just like we've seen in other investigation tasks, we can use the widgets on the side to interact with the entities involved, change the tile pattern, and export or print the list of results. Note that for the visitor activities, we'll need to choose a visitor from the filters list first. We can't run the report on all the visitors at once. If we want to be more specific and look up the activity for a particular credential instead of the cardholder it belongs to, we can also open the Credential Activities task. The filters and controls are very similar to the previous two tasks. Two other investigation tasks that may be helpful when trying to find out what has been going on at a location are the Area Activities task and the Door Activities task. In these reports, instead of looking at a person or their credential to see what they've been doing, we are focused on an access point or a group of access points to see what has been happening to it. In the Area report, we select the area we want to investigate, and it will give us all the access control events that happened in the time range we specify. We can also limit this down to specific cardholders or filter based on an event type we're looking for, such as an anti-passback violation or people count reset. The results and layout sections operate the same way we've already seen. Just drag and drop the event in a tile or double-click on it to have it auto-populate a tile, and use the widgets if needed. In the Door report, we can still choose areas to get our results from, but we can narrow it down to a specific set of doors if we would like, and the door side can be selected as well. We can also filter on credentials as well as cardholders. The event filter will have door events that we can look for, such as the door forced open or entry detected. Once we click on Generate Report, the results will not only have the cardholder information, but also the events coming from the door hardware, such as if the door is manually unlocked or goes offline. Before we finish our look at the access control side of the security desk, there's one very handy tool we can use to figure out what's wrong if someone can't get to where they're going. In the Tools section of the home page, we have something called the Access Troubleshooter. There are three sections to it: the Door Troubleshooter, Cardholder Troubleshooter, and Access Diagnosis. In the Door Troubleshooter, we can put in a date and time, select a door or elevator, choose which side of the door or floor we want to test, and click Go. The results will show us who is either allowed in at that time or has been denied at that time. Anyone not affected by an access rule will not show up here. The cardholder troubleshooter lets us choose a cardholder or credential and a date and time to test with, and when we click Go, it will tell us which doors that person or credential has access to at that time. In case someone is trying to get through a door and it's not letting them, we can use one of these to see if the rules are configured to let that person through. The Access Diagnosis tab is even better, as we can choose every detail including the date and time we want to test, the cardholder or credential, and the exact door and side to test. Once we click on Go, we get a detailed report of the test done, including if the person and credential are active and any access rules applied to that door. If the person is not allowed through, we'll get a reason why, such as access is refused to that person during a schedule that has been applied. In Security Center, the directory controls the devices connected to it, but it's also looking for information coming from those devices or other parts of the system. These pieces of information are called events, and will show up in the reporting pane on top of the monitoring task. We can see things like when a camera sees motion, when someone has requested access to a door, or when an LPR camera reads a license plate. We need to tell our security desk which entities we want to see events from. This is called monitoring. While we're monitoring an entity, the text of the event shows up in the report pane on top, and if we have configured the entity type to be displayed as well, it will show up in the tile below. To choose to monitor an entity for events, click on the monitoring button on the bottom and add entities to this list. We can also choose to use one specific tile to show the events for this entity. We can also drag an entity from our area view and drop it on the monitoring button to add it to the list. Just a quick note that tiles that are configured to show entity events will have a blue tab in the tile number. A gray tab will not show anything automatically. Click on the tile number or right-click on the tile and go into the monitoring menu to change what each tile can display. An alarm in Security Center is a specific type of entity that is used to raise awareness of something happening on site or on the system. Typically, an alarm will have specific people it's shown to and will need to be acknowledged once the event has been investigated. The easiest way to monitor and respond to alarms is through the Alarm Monitoring task, which is one of our operation tasks from the home page. This task has a similar layout to the monitoring task, however we don't have access to the area view that shows all our entities. The only thing we want to see here are alarms, and they're displayed in the report pane on top. We can still use the Change Tile Pattern button on the bottom to use a different canvas layout. In the report pane on top, we can see all the information we need for the alarm. The tile will show the alarm and entities associated with that particular alarm, like a camera or a door. The controls are still on the right, with the widgets shown for the associated entities. When we're responding to alarms, we can acknowledge them in several ways, snooze them, mark them as under investigation, forward them, or add some context notes. Clicking on an alarm in the report pane gives us all these options below the pane. Clicking on an alarm in a tile will show us these options in the alarm widget. In case an alarm has several entities attached to it, like 2 cameras and a door, the alarm will be shown in a tile cycling through these entities. You can use the eye icon to stop cycling, select an entity, or unpack the entities to view them all in their own tiles. You can repack them using the eye icon as well. On top of the alarm monitoring task, we have a few other controls that might be helpful. We can auto-forward alarms to another user if we need to step away for a moment, manually trigger an alarm ourselves, or we can forcibly acknowledge all the alarms in the system. To monitor alarms from the monitoring task instead, you can turn on alarm monitoring from the monitoring button on the bottom. Tiles with a red tab in the tile number will show alarms in them and can still be configured to show events as well. Like we did for events, click on the tile number or right-click on the tile and go into the monitoring menu to configure if this tile will show events, alarms, both, or neither. In the report pane on top, we can also use the switch on the top right to change between seeing lists of events and lists of active alarms. In our Security Center system, we can configure a way to notify all of the operators or users that a major event is going on, either at one area or location of the site, or on the entire site. These event notifications are called threat levels. Threat levels can be created to perform several actions when they are activated or deactivated. For example, we could have a threat level to alert everyone that a fire is happening, we have an active shooter incident going on, or a major gas leak that requires evacuation. When the system administrators are creating these threat levels, they assign colors to the different threat levels. If a threat level is applied to the whole system, basically alerting everyone, we'll see the border around our security desk change to that color. A threat level activated on one specific area does not change the border color. To activate or deactivate threat levels, we can use the threat level icon in our notification tray, which looks like an emergency light you'd see on top of a vehicle. You can also see if a threat level is active depending on the state of the icon. If the light is on, we have a threat level active. Gray means everything is fine. Left-click on the icon to bring up the threat levels pop-up window. To set a threat level across the whole system, use the drop-down menu on top to choose the threat level. As soon as you confirm the selection, the threat level will be applied. Use the same method to set it to none when the event is finished or under control. The list below will have all our areas that we have configured. Use the drop-down menu next to an area to set a threat level on that specific area. Once again, the threat level is set as soon as you click on Apply in the confirmation. Click Close once you are done setting or resetting your threat levels. Once we have our tasks open and have configured them the way we want, we can keep this configuration so we don't have to do it again the next time we open the security desk. This can be done for any kind of task, like a monitoring task or a report with a set of filters. To save the task, right-click on the Task tab on top of the Security Desk application. From the menu that pops up, choose the Save As option. Note this is also where we can send the task to another user, add or remove the task from our favorites, go into the full screen mode, and lots of other functions. Once we have chosen to save the task, we need to select if this will be a private or public task. Private tasks can only be seen by you. Public ones are seen by all users. If we think this configuration may be helpful to others, we can choose public. Create a folder or select an existing one to organize your tasks, and type in an appropriate name for this task, then click Save. Using the Task tabs on top, we can click on the X to close a task, or click on the task and drag it to reposition it in the list. If we want to bring up one of our saved tasks, click on the Home button on the top left, and in the list on the left we can see our tabs for private and public tasks. We can open, rename, delete, or set them as a favorite from here. One special menu item we have for the monitoring task is to save a layout. Saving a layout creates a layout entity in the area view and only saves the tile canvas configuration. So if we're not concerned with the rest of the settings and configuration of the monitoring task, but we want to bring up the same tile pattern with the same cameras loaded in it, we can use a layout instead. Once you have a layout in your area view, you can just drag and drop it into your canvas to use it. The Security Center system can be programmed to perform certain actions when it sees a particular event come in from an entity. An example of this could be where we want an alarm to pop up for our users if a camera sees motion in a secure area. These actions can also be done by operators of the security desk using hot actions. To bring up the hot action menu, click on the hot action icon in the notification tray. If we know we're going to be executing a lot of these, we can pin this pop-up menu. We can create and execute hot actions from here, which will be reusable, or we can perform a manual action that will only be done once. To create a new reusable hot action, click on the Edit button. Once we're in edit mode, click on the Add button on the bottom of the list. We'll get another pop-up box in the middle that is asking for the name of the hot action and the action we want to perform. Type in something appropriate for the name. In my example, I want to create a hot action that will play a sound to my coworker to wake him up. From the Action drop-down menu, there are a lot of choices here, and each one will present you with different options that it needs. When I choose Play a Sound, I now have to select the user or user group the sound is going to and the preloaded sound clip I want to play. I can hit OK when I'm finished, and I'll see this hot action in the list now. To edit an existing hot action, highlight it and hit the Edit button on the bottom of the list. Once we've created the hot actions we want to perform, we can click on Done to get out of edit mode. Now we can highlight a hot action and click Execute to have the system perform that action that we configured. Note that we have a shortcut showing next to each one as well, so I can just hold the Control key and hit F1 to execute my Wake Up Fred action. If we just want to execute a hot action once and forget about it, we can click on the Manual Action button and configure the action we want to perform, just like we did previously. Once we click on OK, that action will be performed. If we need to keep an eye on many different parts of the system, but don't need a detailed view of the entire task used to monitor it, we can use dashboards to selectively view the things we want. Dashboards are completely customizable, can be private or shared, and are saved in the same location as our private and public saved tasks. To start using dashboards, open the Dashboards task from the home page. If we have no dashboards created, it will ask us to create one. If we do have existing dashboards on our system, we'll see the list of private and public ones in their respective folders, with the option to create a dashboard on top. Dashboards open like any task, so we can have multiple ones open at any time, set the security desk to automatically cycle through them, or have them in different monitors. Let's take a look at how we can populate a dashboard with the information we want to see. Once we create a dashboard, we can either use the Add Widgets button in the middle, or click on the Edit Dashboard on the top right. If we had anything in this dashboard, the Edit button is how we would modify it to change the widget options or add new ones. We'll know we're in edit mode by the grid in the background. On the right side are the widgets we can use. On the top, there are controls for layer overlapping and the undo and redo buttons. Once we're finished editing the dashboard, we can just click on the Done button to exit the edit mode, and we can use the menu to rename the dashboard or set the refresh time. To place a widget in the dashboard, we just need to drag the widget type into the canvas and drop it where we want to place it. We can use the border edges to change the size, or click on the X to get rid of it. With the widget selected, the view on the right will give us the options to set up what the widget is displaying. These options change depending on the type of widget, but there are some general display options that are common to all, such as the title and background color. If we want to work on the placement of our widgets, we can use the arrows on the bottom right to hide the widget pane, or use the sliders to move the canvas around. Once we hit Done and are viewing the dashboard, we can interact with some of the widgets or select a new dashboard to view from the Select Dashboard drop-down menu. We can create a new one from this drop-down menu as well. We've been taking a look at a lot of the things the security desk can do by default, but there are ways that we can change the behavior or the information we see to fit our job or how we like to work. On the left side of the home page, we have the Options section, which will bring up a pop-up menu showing the configuration of our security desk. We already saw that we can use the General tab to turn off some displays in full screen mode, so let's go into a few of the other tabs. In the keyboard shortcuts, we can see what is set as a shortcut by default, such as hitting B to add a bookmark, but we can also add shortcuts for any features we use a lot. A good tip would be to try the shortcut combination we want to use first, just to see if it's already associated with something. The Visual tab is where we can set the taskbar position, change how video is displayed in a tile, and configure the visibility of the various icons that can show up in the notification tray. The Events tab is where we can set which events will show up in the report pane on top if an entity is being monitored, and also if we want this type of event to populate a tile as well. The Alarms tab is where we configure how we want the security desk to react when an alarm is triggered. For example, we could have the alarm come up in a pop-up window in the notification tray, bring up the alarm monitoring task, or be displayed on a map. There are lots of other settings in here, but this is just to get you started, and you can use the help guide to see what the other options do and how to configure them.